Bravo bosses, this is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I am your host, Dana, and today we are talking about Summer House Season 10, Episode 4. Let's get into it. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope everyone's had a great week so far. And I am joining you via video. This is me. Hello, everyone, midweek. And that is because today was an in-office day. I'm in office on Wednesdays, so my makeup's already done. And as you can see, I am still in my work attire. So I have barely even just gotten home. I was like, okay, I got to feed Judy. I'm not walking her right now because there's a blizzard going on out there. And I really wanted to talk to you guys about Summer House. So I feel like this will be a pretty short episode because, as per usual, we just talk about the main plot points and the major themes. And we're just doing one episode today. But that being said, we got some crazy news today that I felt like I really couldn't just bypass until next week. Robert Jr. died, like Mary Cosby's son. And it's absolutely devastating. It seems to be drug related. I don't have all the details yet. This happened on Monday in Utah. I mean, I just feel really sad for Mary and her family. She has done so much to try to support him through all of his trials and tribulations. She also had her faith and all of those things. They didn't work, right? And I don't know. It's just absolutely devastating. Like when I saw it, I was like, is this a joke? Because I was just like, how can this be? He's a kid, right? He's like 23 and he was just charged with new felony charges. Like I was just telling you guys about this yesterday on the reality roundup. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope this kid can like get his shit together. And it's absolutely devastating. I don't know what this means for the show. Like I can't even imagine Mary coming back to camera, let alone ever being able to forget this. Like, how can you, right? Like, it is the worst thing for a parent to lose their child. It is unnatural for things to happen in that sequence. And for someone who had such a strong faith, I mean, this just must be that much more devastating. I I just don't even have words. Like, I don't even have words. It's absolutely devastating. I saw it when I was at work. I went and let my colleague know because she also watches Salt Lake. And we're both like, Robert Jr. Like, so like my prayers go out to Mary and her family, Robert Sr. I mean, that boy was the light of her life. He was everything to her. She would have done anything for him. It's just devastating. There's no other words. That being said, I feel like let's get into Summer House, which, obviously takes a different turn from when we just talked about something so incredibly devastating. But I felt it would be weird not to talk about it because it literally just happened. So it just felt like something that I couldn't wait on. But with regards to Summer House, I feel like we got some really interesting themes this episode because I was worried that this entire season was just going to be about like the demise of Kyle and Amanda, which is interesting. And that's something that I do kind of want to see. But at the same time, it can get really boring, like especially on our Bravo shows when we end up just sort of having the same fights or the same things happen over and over again, episode by episode. And as a recapper, I find that really like monotonous to end up recording about because didn't we just talk about this last week kind of thing? So at least we got some different stuff this time, and it's not all just about Kyle and Amanda, but we do start off with them. And we start with Kyle apologizing to Amanda for everything that's been going on, basically for Apology Dune, for his whole day at the beach. But he says that he doesn't feel good. And the way that he's saying it, though, it's not like my tummy hurts. There's definitely something going on with him outside of Amanda, and it could be the business stuff, right? We know that he's like drowning in debt. We know that he is not taking a salary. We know that he's DJing to make ends meet. But I think it's even like beyond that. I think it's even more like a mental health kind of thing because the way that he's coming off this season is very quiet, which is not how he is. I mean, he's definitely still having his outbursts, but the way he's arguing with Amanda or the way he is tending to speak, even when he gave that apology at that dinner in the first episode, he's speaking just very monotone. And I don't know if that's his way of just coming off as less aggressive, or there's just something going on with him where he just doesn't have like the capacity to have more emotion and to be more animated about it. Do you know what I mean? Then he talks about how he hasn't been as drunk in a year as he was yesterday at the beach. And Amanda just kind of like whispers to herself, like, that's just not true. And she kind of moves on from it because she just doesn't want to get like down in the weeds about the alcohol again, because that's really not the point. Because she's like, drinking aside, you seem to blame me for absolutely everything that's going on, even though you have so many things going on. And that's absolutely true, right? Like we see that every time that they get in a fight, he turns the entire thing around on her, and not just her, but like who she is to her core. And it's quite mean and quite evil. And I truly believe that he means all the things that he's saying. Like when he says that she has no personality and that she needs to get drive and all of these things, I believe him when he says that. I believe that he believes those things about her. And that's why I just feel like at this point, I don't know why he doesn't realize that he as well hates her. I think it's one of those things where you're with somebody for just such a long time and you love them, but you hate them, right? Like you love who they are because how can you not? You've been together for such a long time, but you've grown to hate everything about them as a person. And if you weren't married, you probably wouldn't be in each other's lives anymore. It's kind of like that. I also love how Amanda just has, she's just such a strong person. Like if I were in these situations, which I've been in, where a guy is blaming me for everything, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am the worst. I literally had a guy say to me, like a long-term relationship, say to me, I think things would be better between us if you got sick less. If I got sick less. And I told him I would try. Okay. I told him I would work on it. So I'm just so impressed with Amanda, even though she said last episode that there was something inside her that worried that someone else wouldn't want her. I think I think the antidepressants are working for her. And I really love that she's standing up for herself and not leaning in when he's saying these really awful things about her. And she's not sort of accepting those things, right? Like if somebody tells you you're stupid and awful over and over and over again, you start to believe it, which is kind of the place that I'm in with work, where I was told that for basically a year. Now I'm at a new job and I need to remind myself that I'm not stupid. And just because somebody else told me that, it doesn't mean that it's true. But when you have the same things sort of hammered into you for a long time, you tend to believe them. So I'm glad that she's not sitting here just taking in and accepting all the things that he's saying about her, because they ain't true. But he's like, you never ask me about it. You never ask me about what's going on, and you don't have a clue. And she's like, Kyle, we are partners. And she means that, I believe, in business and personal, because they flash to him telling Carl about how he's not taking a salary anymore and he's having issues with the business. But I'm sure that Amanda knows that because she works at Loverboy, right? And she makes the very good point that they are best friends in her view. She's like, you are my best friend. If something happens to me, good, bad, ugly, otherwise, I come to you and I tell you about it. I'm the same way, right? Like when I have something exciting, something bad, something whatever, I run to my sister because that is my best friend. That is the person I want to tell everything to. I don't just sit around with like a grumpy face and be like, I'm sad. Why is nobody asking me about why I'm sad? And that's what she's saying. She's like, if you want to talk to me about something, if you want me to know something about what's going on with you, tell me, just the way that I do with you. But she does say, regardless, I do ask you if you're okay. And I do ask you what's going on. And I believe that. Like maybe she's not doing it as often as he would like. But I really want to hone in on something he said that I think it was in like the first episode of this season, where he's like, I know I work a lot and I know I go out a lot, but when I'm around, Amanda just sort of ignores me and doesn't give into it. And so to me, it just sort of feels like he's barely around, but when he is, he expects Amanda to drop whatever she's doing and ask him what's going on with him and how he's doing, right? And I think that there has to be like a give and take here, a push and pull. She also says that he makes it seem like she's this terrible person and she's awful and she's always doing this and she never does that. And she doesn't like how he speaks about her in sort of like these totalities, like in this way of where she never asks what's going on with him. And she's like, that's not true. Like, don't speak in this way in which it seems like I never do this thing. And additionally, the whole terrible person thing, she's absolutely right. He does speak about her in that way. When he's saying things like, you have no personality, no drive, no this and that, he's speaking about her like she's a piece of shit, like she's uninteresting. Like, why would anyone want to be around her? And again, if that's your wife, if that's the person that you love, you don't speak about them that way. So she is absolutely right to say all of these things. Then he says he's not in a great place. And he says, I hope we can turn a corner. But the way that he's saying it, again, is just very monotone. And I think that the accumulation of all of the stuff that's going on with him is probably not helping not only their relationship, but is not helping his ability to contribute to fixing their relationship. Because quite frankly, you need both people to fix a relationship, right? This isn't all Kyle's fault, okay? As much as we want to blame Kyle, it's not all Kyle's fault. But when you are just so emotionally and physically drained from all the other things that you're dealing with in your life, it's so hard to work on the things that need work, right? Like I've been depressed before many a time, and it was hard enough for me to take care of myself, my dog, let alone work, let alone do anything else. I can't imagine trying to nurture a relationship that was already struggling. You know what I mean? So I think the fact that not just Kyle being busy, but also Kyle having just so much other things going on that's affecting his mental health also contributed to the demise of their relationship, quite frankly. So Wes decides to throw this singles party for Ben because Ben has declared that he is ready to be in a relationship. Now, all of this is moot, quite frankly, because he's in a very serious relationship now, as we can see online. So it is what it is. But the point of this party is to get someone for Ben, but basically West is telling everyone to bring someone that they wouldn't do, but that someone that Ben would do or someone that they want Ben to do, I guess, basically. So we finally get the return of Lindsay Hubbard. Hallelujah. And she looks fucking hot, okay? And everyone tells her so, basically. She meets Bailey, she meets Levi, and she tells the camera that her goal was always to have a baby. And this we know, right? Like when we've seen Lindsay want to be in relationships, it has always been for the purpose and goal of procreation, right? But now she's saying that now that she has that baby, she doesn't feel like that she has that same biological pressure with men that she used to have. So she no longer, I guess, feels like she needs to have like a boyfriend or needs to have her, what was that thing that she used to have? Like the list that she used to have. What was it called? You know, her like 5-year plan where it was like married by whatever age, pregnant by whatever age, all of that is out the window. And I love that for her. And I feel like that's probably really freeing for her and really liberating to not have to worry about the biological clock that comes along with the relationship. Because in her previous life, she's out there dating, but she also has to make sure that those guys want kids. She also has to make sure that they're interested in being in a relationship and that they want to take things seriously soon so that she can get all the way to those steps of getting the kid, right? What was the thing? I'm like driving myself crazy now. Her like list, what was it called? The Lindsay Hubbard, I don't know, the steps, the plan. You guys know what I'm saying. It's just going to bother me now until like the middle of the night. But yeah, I think that that's so cool because she's got the baby. So now she could just date and just like fuck around and find out. Her words, okay? And I just love that for her. Lindsay is in such a fun phase of her life that I don't think we've ever seen her in before. We've seen her have a hot hub summer, okay? Like this is different from that. She can have a hot hub summer without the repercussions, not the repercussions, without worrying about the longevity, right? Without worrying about it going anywhere. If it does, it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, she has baby Gemma to come home to, and that's all she really cares about. So I absolutely love that for her. Now she kind of has eyes for Ben, but so does everyone, right? Because like Bailey likes Ben, Levi likes Ben. Now, Bailey says that at this party, the one that West has thrown, she is actually matched with a lot of these guys on online dating apps, which is so funny. And she says that that just shows how small the New York dating pool is, which is kind of wild when you think about New York and when you think about this many like hot people, because this is why we have shows like Love is Blind and stuff like that, where the dating pool is really small, apparently. But then half of those people end up even knowing each other. So to hear that New York has such a small dating pool that Bailey has seen half of these guys on her Hinge profile, like I just think that that's wild. But ugh, that's kind of awful, right? Now, Bailey is also super into Ben, but she sort of just has like some PTSD. And I really appreciate her bringing up her breakup a lot, even though some other people might not, because I don't think she's doing it in an annoying way. And I think that it gives us a lot more insight into who she is because she was in this relationship for a long time. So I feel like her talking about it and her telling us like the ramifications of the breakup sort of help us get to know her in a better sense. So she says that after her breakup, she's been super afraid of men because she assumes they aren't attracted to her or they think that she's not interesting because that's what her ex told her. And this is what we just talked about, right? It's internalizing those things that other people say to you and make you feel like, am I those things? Am I uninteresting? Like, I'm pretty sure I told you guys this story, maybe even in the last episode, where I dated a guy where he made me feel like so small and so uninteresting that when we broke up and I went on a date with another guy or was getting ready to go on a date with another guy, I like went over to a colleague's desk and was like, hey, can you let me know what like your interests are? Because I need to pretend that they're my interests because my ex told me I had no interest. So I need to come to this date prepared with like things to talk about. And my friend was like, oh my God, that is so sad. Dana, yes, you have interests, right? Like he was just an asshole, right? So she's talking about how she was in this relationship where he just made her feel small. And now she's worried about being out of it, where she's not sure if she is those horrible things that he said about her. And it makes her just kind of afraid to date. Plus, there's the fact that she was in a relationship for a long time, and that makes it sort of harder to remember how to socialize again. Plus, the pandemic. Plus, like meeting people in person is just like not of this time, right? It's just like such a different way to meet. Meeting people at like a singles event, right? Like we are so used to hiding behind our computers for so many years now. So I'm just really loving the energy that Bailey and Levi are bringing to the show, quite frankly. I love that they can hang out separately. I love that they can hang out with the group. I love that they can contribute to the things that are going on here. I also love that they really have a lot of respect for the OGs. This comes up later, but I'll just bring it up now. Where like later on, we're at the pool at the house, and Lindsay is there for the weekend. And she's kind of flirting with Ben, and Bailey just thinks that Lindsay is like the best flirter. She can do no wrong. She's so fucking hot. She wishes she had Lindsay's skills. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't a girl sitting around being like, who is Katie Maloney, right? She knows exactly who she's up against, and she knows exactly who Mother Hubbard is. And I absolutely love that. But at the same time, I think that Bailey should give herself more credit. She is absolutely stunning. She is interesting. Her job is interesting. I think she really pops on camera. I think it's really sad that this ex of hers just made her feel like so much smaller than she is because I'm looking at her and I'm impressed, right? Aren't we all a little bit? So Wes decides to bring an ex-fling to this event. Her name is Dara, and he met her when he was laid off. Now, I just want to remind us all that during the time that he was laid off was when he got this show. Remember? When he was in season one, he wasn't working, he had been laid off. And by the end of the season, he had just gotten a job. So I'm curious when exactly this fling was going on from. He ends up telling Amanda that he wouldn't be bringing this girl around if this was someone he was looking to hook up with. And like, yeah, absolutely. He still seems to have a good understanding, and thank God, that it would be inappropriate for him to bring a girl home, especially one that you are like partying with at a party where everyone in the group is. And he knows that he still has to have like these boundaries and respect with Sierra because he wants to make sure that the group is still good and kosher. And so I appreciate that from him. But I am just wondering when he last hooked up with this girl and if it was during that time period, because He says to Amanda that he met her before he met any of them. But again, remember that first summer when he was hanging out with Sierra and they were like quote unquote dating, he was hooking up with other people that summer. And that was the summer that he was laid off. So I'm just putting that out there. But he did pretty much imply to Amanda that no, there's like no crossover here because I met her like way before I met you guys. So we'll see. But this was just something that was sort of in my mind. So, like I said, he said he's not pursuing her because he wouldn't have brought her around. And now we're back at the house. So this is like the first weekend that Lindsay is going to be there. It's really weird watching Lindsay and Carl now because last summer it was like, ooh, it's the first summer since Lindsay and Carl haven't been together. What's it going to be like? How are they going to interact? And now it's the second season. And the first season was fine. There was a couple of blowups, a couple of hiccups, but for the most part, they just ignored each other. And we've seen them do the same pretty much at like press events and stuff. That being said, it seemed like she got him something cute for his birthday. This is obviously more recently. This filmed obviously last summer, but it seems like they interact in some ways for the sake of press, for the sake of the show. But on camera at this point, with this being their second summer post breakup, it's sort of like a nothing burger, right? But the way that they interact, I find just wild because at this point, they are just like business associates. We have Carl being like, hello, Lindsay, how are you? And she's like, hello, Carl, I am doing well. He's like, how is Gemma? And she's like, even better. And that's it, right? We don't even have them making eye contact. She says that she doesn't think about him. She doesn't give a fuck about him. And that's, I guess, where we go from here. It's fine, I guess. I mean, for the sake of just like something iconic happening, like it would be iconic if they got back together and he raised Gemma as his own. I just think that would be like an iconic thing. Or if at some point, I don't expect it to be this summer, if at some point they end up becoming best friends again. But for now, we're in this like weird, awkward stage. It is weird for the sake of a show that's supposed to be about a friend group that interacts on the weekends, but whatever. So Jesse ends up, this is like the crux of the episode, okay? So this is like our main bread and butter here. Jesse ends up asking West in front of KJ and Ben if it would be okay if he made out with Sierra. You heard me, okay? And West is like, is that in the works? And Jesse's like, well, I don't know. It would probably be like a drunken club thing. And Ben and KJ are just sitting there being like, this is wild. This question is wild. And it is, right? For so many reasons. Now, Wes ends up telling the other guys, like later on, about the whole thing. And he's just like, honestly, I think the whole thing is weird, to be honest. He says that he thinks that Sierra would destroy him, which is probably true. But he says to the other guys, like, why would he bring that up to me? Now, KJ, who obviously wasn't around during that time, he's trying to contribute to the conversation. So he's like, I mean, yeah, it wasn't even just like a hookup, right? Like she was your girlfriend, right? And Wes is like, yeah. And Kyle is like, well, it was sort of like a gray area, but they went through some shit. So Jesse tells the producer that he wrote a song about secretly falling in love with your best friend. It's obviously basically about Sierra. And even Lindsay is clocking that Jesse might have feelings for her. So then we get this scene of Wes and Jesse talking in the pool while they're getting ready for like this Renaissance party that the house is going to throw. And Jesse is sort of explaining, well, like I've always been flirty with Sierra. And I was just sort of asking you, like, just in case it like drunkenly happened or something. I didn't want to be like, oh man, now it's a problem. And Wes is like, yeah, that's true, as if that's like a reasonable explanation. And Wes says, even the other guys thought it was weird. And so basically what he's doing here is saying like, well, everybody else thinks so too, which is a way of, which is a thing that people do to try to make something seem more or greater, right? It's not even just I think it's bad. Everyone thinks it's bad. All the other guys think it's bad. Everyone thinks that you're crazy, right? And Wes says that, like on paper, asking your boy to make out with his ex is a crazy ask. And yeah, he's absolutely right. On paper, it is. And we're going to get into the nuances of it all, but I just want to finish the recap for the sake of it. And then Jesse is like, well, what should I have done? Not asked? Yeah, it's weird that you dated her, but it won't stop me. Now, we have to also remember about Jesse that coming into this show, he full on knew that Paige had a boyfriend and he full on flirted with her anyways, okay? He's always been the type that doesn't care and would proceed regardless, but it's just not something that we have seen him necessarily do. We've seen him flirt with Amanda too, but because she's not giving into it, we all treat it as a joke. But I think if she was into it, he would pursue. I think he told us that, like right from the jump, that he's the kind of guy that doesn't really care if you have a boyfriend or doesn't really care if there's like a weird history to it. He's just gonna do it anyways. Now, earlier in the episode, he says that West isn't ready for a relationship and he is, and he knows that what West is ready for is just not what Sierra wants. He knows that Sierra wants a relationship. But I think this all comes down to, oh, okay, several different things. Okay. So let's start with the ask itself. The ask to make out with your friend's ex. It's a crazy ask. It's a crazy ask because the answer is just no. General bro code would just tell you no. Now, here are the nuances about all of it. Okay. Oh, man. First of all, it's Sierra's choice at the end of the day. Okay. This ask without her even being involved is quite frankly moot because it's really up to Sierra. What I have always found odd is that Sierra seems to give in to Jesse's flirting. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that she's into it or that she just kind of, she always says that thing where she's like, oh, you're being nutty. You're just nutty. So, yeah, I don't know if it's just something that she doesn't mind or it's something that she's into. But something that she has said on podcasts, especially recent ones, that she's always been treated as like a sexual being and she's rarely looked at beyond her looks. So I would be surprised that she would just allow him to do it just for the sake of him being like touchy and flirty and horny. So is she into it and doesn't want to admit it? That being said, I don't think she would ever actually date him. I think she knows better. I think she's had her fill of Bravo men. I think that she's had enough experience with men to know what she's looking for right now. And I think it's not Jesse. I think she's all well and good being friends with him and having fun with him, but I don't think that she would actually date him. I think that Jesse is in love with her. And I think he's confused about that because he hasn't been in love since what, high school or something? And he came into this show a little late, right? He didn't get to call dibs on her, as we talked about last season, which again is a ridiculous concept because Sierra has to consent as well. And as he said in the show, you know, last season it would have been weird because she just came off dating my friend, but now I feel like it's different. The only way this would ever be okay, in sort of a Scandival way, is if they ended up being together and getting married, right? Where we said the only way it would be okay that Tom and Raquel cheated in the way that they did and did all the things that they did and ruined the friend group is if they end up being meant to be. And I'm not saying that this would ruin the friend group necessarily, but it could for sure, right? Like, this is a big deal. I'm just saying that it is icky and it is weird. And I feel like the only way that it would be appropriate is if, yeah, it kind of fucks things up with your friendship, but you end up being meant to be together. But I don't think they're meant to be together. I don't. I think that Sierra can do way better than Jesse. No offense to Jesse. I just think that she can do a lot better. In addition, I also don't think that he is ready for a relationship as he says. I think he may think that he is because now he's in love with Sierra. But I think that all of that is very confusing because he's never been in like a real adult long-term relationship. So I don't think he knows what he wants. I don't think he even knows the difference between love and infatuation necessarily. But I think he's now trying to play this game of like, oh, well, Wes is still this playboy, but not me. I'm not that guy. I'm a guy who wants to be in a serious relationship. And Sierra also wants to be in a serious relationship. How about that? But sir, come on. You are not the kind of person that's good at monogamy. You've said that. You were in a monogamous relationship with Lexi last year, and you couldn't even like keep that going for 8 weeks. Within that 8 weeks, you sucked a toe, right? So I don't really think that maybe you are the relationship type or you're just not there yet. Because even just the way that he excessively flirted with Sierra during the time that he was with Lexi was just completely inappropriate. So I just don't think that he's as ready for a relationship as he thinks he is. Now, the parts of this that made this less shocking for me was the idea that Sierra and Jesse have been flirting like crazy for years now. And it's it's a lot, right? Like he is constantly touching all over her. Watch this episode again. They are linked arms. He's holding her hand. He's constantly touching on her. So the idea that they would make out seems not that crazy to me in the sense that they're almost there. Also, they have made out. I think it was for like a truth or dare thing. So it's not like it's something that's never happened either. And so that's why I find it less shocking, but only from West's point of view. Like I find it shocking that West is shocked because you would think that West would think that this was sort of in the works because they are always touching each other. I'm shocked by the fact that West isn't shocked that this is something that Jesse wants to do when it's so obvious that Jesse is into her. He is constantly touching all up on Sierra. So why wouldn't Wes think that this is something that Jesse wants? But then I guess he thinks it's like the whole bro code of it all. So he thinks that um, Jesse would never actually cross that boundary. But I think he doesn't know Jesse that well, right? If you think about it, they've only known each other a couple of years and they've never been in this particular situation before. Then there's the whole concept of whether Wes and Sierra were in an actual relationship. It depends on who you ask, right? I think for Sierra, she felt like they were. I think prior to this situation, Wes would have said, not really. He would have said that they were dating. It went on for like 2 months. And yes, they went to a wedding together and she met parts of his family and stuff. But in terms of them being like official, I don't think they were. And definitely Sierra developed way stronger feelings for West than he developed for her, which is why we are where we are, where she's still in a place where she's not really in over it and she doesn't really want to give him the time of day for the most part, right? And that's her prerogative. But a lot of people out there still shipping the two of them, thinking that they should get quote unquote back together, thinking that he's in love with her. And I'm telling you, he's not. He's not. He's not. I think he thinks she's hot. I think he would, you know, have sex with her if she were into it, or would make out with her if she were into it, would also be friends with her if she were into it. But because Sierra wants more than what Wes wants, that's just like a really bad situation, in my opinion. But not just that. I just really feel like, I watched West on The Wild Files last year. Yes, unfortunately, I watched that. And to me, he just seems like the kind of guy that is not meant for a relationship, or at least not now. He's also not that old. I mean, he's old for someone who's never really been in a relationship. He's like 29 or something. But the way he talked to Nick Vile and the way he described his past relationship history, he's like never really had a serious relationship and he doesn't really have a desire for it. So, no, I don't think he's in love with Sierra. I just really don't. But I think he's always infatuated with her in that way. So, because they were never in an official relationship, is this breaking boy or bro code, right? Like, it's hard to say because they weren't official. However, I would agree with Kyle when he said that they've been through a lot together. And given the fact that they're on a show together, which has that additional layer and that additional aspect, I would therefore say, yes, this is an issue with bro code. Absolutely, for sure, right? If this was a situation where these people were not on TV together, this is someone that Sierra dated for a couple of months that none of these people ever even see again, different story. But because they're so intermingled, I think that that's such a big part of it. And the last piece, I think, is Wes' reaction where he's coming off jealous, which I think is what's getting people all up in arms and making people think like, oh, he's in love with her and he wants to be with her and that's why he's upset. That's the one piece where I can't figure it out 100%. I'm not 100% sure why he's upset. It could just be like a typical like masculine kind of like bro thing where it's like, hey, you take my woman, I caveman, I am upset, where, like any man would be jealous. But I've also seen situations where guys aren't jealous, where they're like, yeah, go after my seconds. I am not jealous at all. So I don't really know what this is because I sort of just don't know West in that regard. he brought that other girl, Dara, who is now another cast member. And if this is someone who he's willing for Ben to date or for like other people on the show to date, then maybe he's not the jealous type. But I swear to you guys, I do not think that West is in love with Sierra. I do not think that that's why he's jealous. I think it's just more of like a bro thing or like a, what's the word? What's the word? Like an ownership type of thing, which is bad, right? Where he almost feels like, well, that's someone that I hooked up with on this show, and so I sort of own that, and it would be really weird for you to intervene on that, which I agree, right? At the end of the day, I think the ask was absolutely wild. I think that fact that Jesse would just go ahead and probably do it anyways, regardless, absolutely wild. And that also makes him a really bad friend, quite frankly, right? If you're just going to go ahead and do it anyway, but we're just like asking in advance, like, fuck you, man. Especially if your friend is making it very clear that he is not okay with it, then you abort mission, absolutely. But I feel like the bigger issue here is that it's just like not an appropriate thing to go after your friend's ex, despite how much of an ex that person is, despite the parameters of it, despite where those two people are now. It just gets messy and it's not clean. And unless those two people, Jesse and Sierra, are going to end up in love and married and end up being together, having kids and the whole nine, I really don't think it's in Jesse's best interest to rock the boat with pretty much everyone in the house, right? This could affect his relationship with West, with Sierra, with other people in the house. The show itself, it could become its own mini scandal, right? And I don't think that he's putting as much thought into this as he should. And that's probably because he's so in love, right? So now his head is in the clouds and he's not thinking clearly. And I'm sorry you're in love with Sierra, man. That makes sense. She's absolutely amazing, but I do not think that she's into you that way. And I do not think that you are actually ready for a relationship. So that is the end of the episode today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to follow me until our next episode, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. You can watch this episode on YouTube and also subscribe over there. You can also join the Facebook group. And there's also a Patreon that you can join. It is patreon.com/The Bravo Investigator Podcast. And I love you, BBs. I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator Podcast. For more content, head over to patreon.com/The Bravo Investigator Podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.